Hey guys, this is Courtney from Lil's Bloom, and I am here to talk to you today about the Cancer new moon happening at 7 degrees of Cancer on June 28th at almost 9 p.m. in Mountain Time, which would be around 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I believe around 7 p.m. on the coast of California. So let's talk about what a Cancer new moon is about. First of all, a new moon is going to give us an opportunity for a new start, a new beginning, and a new idea. And I think for many of us, this is going to come from a place of needing to nurture and fulfill ourselves. And I did pull the nurture card here, and which is indicating that we may get a flood of emotions in order to bring awareness to any unmet needs in our lives or emotions that need to be dealt with in order for us to achieve something that we truly desire. So some of those deep desires could emerge, or the things that are blocking us from achieving our desires could emerge, and it will become very clear about what it is we need to feel fulfilled and satisfied. I also pulled this Sea Serpent card, which is all about healing emotional wounds and expressing our desires. And I feel like that's exactly what a Cancer new moon is about. It's really bringing the moon, first of all, in its home sign of Cancer, and it's bringing it in line with the sun to illuminate, to bring awareness, or give sort of like the king's message to our emotions. So it's like the king talking to our hearts and telling us to look within. And so I feel like this Cancer new moon is going to give us the opportunity to really be in touch with how we feel. So the things that we've done to keep ourselves busy, or ways that we have distracted ourselves or pushed things down, will no longer be there, and we will be able to finally see things for the raw and real version of how they are inside of us. And so if things are off kilter a little bit, we will absolutely feel that. And this new moon is making an exact square with Jupiter, which is now in the sign of Aries. Ricky and I just made a video about this, so definitely go check that out on my channel that talks a lot about what Jupiter and Aries signifies. And so you can kind of turn to that to get more detail. But essentially, Jupiter and Aries is an opportunity for us to choose ourselves, our independence, our self-sufficiency in order to make something happen in our lives. So we're really growing a lot on our own. And so I think that this new moon in Cancer is giving us the opportunity to learn how to nurture ourselves on this path towards achieving what we want. And so Aries can kind of be this sort of dominant, overpowering figure. And I think this Cancer new moon is trying to bring in the softness and the subtlety and the nuance of intuition and emotion into this sense of independence and drive towards what we want. And so that's partially the reason why it's a square, is there's part of us that is all on board to go straight ahead, to move quickly, to disregard how we feel about things and do things no matter what. And then there's a Cancer new moon, which is asking us to really check in, slow down, and see if this is what our soul desires. And so having this square is an opportunity for both of ourselves to get on board, the masculine and the feminine, to work together to achieve what we want. A square with Jupiter is also creating this potential for inspiration and new ideas, and the potential for quick movement as well. I pulled the Ace of Wands and the Eight of Wands, and this is saying that we can essentially grow and move forward by leaps and bounds rather quickly. We'll start to see things change really quickly. Uranus is still on the North Node right now. Not that it's exact, but there is this potential for rapid change, overnight shifts in our life, like leaping from one timeline to another timeline and having just our reality shift very quickly. And this Jupiter square is giving us that potential and that abundance for these potentials or these successes to occur. However, a square is also a tense aspect, which is indicating that it is very likely and very possible that we will overdo things, that we will exaggerate things, that we will misunderstand situations, or there will be certain false starts where we think, this is it, this is a success, I'm going to go 0 to 100. And it's like the engine gives out, or there's some kind of, delay in that process. And not to say that Jupiter delays, but Jupiter essentially can make things seem all green, like they're all green lights, and like we're going to go from 0 to 100. but yet reality is never quite like that. And so we might go a little bit too fast, a little bit too quick, a little bit too hasty. And we might also feel like we have too many opportunities. That's also potential here, especially with Venus making a sextile to Jupiter and Venus being in Gemini. It's like providing many opportunities, many connections, many ideas, and we're having to choose between these things. So it could either be that we're moving too quick, or our focus is too diverted, like we have too many options. But there's something here that is not necessarily as grounded in reality, where we can get like overly optimistic about things. So anytime we have a Jupiter square, we have a lot of potential, but we have to take a step back and ground in reality to plan long-term for the future. And the good news though is that Mercury is direct in Gemini. So our mental faculties are kind of in the right place, you know? So it's like, even though we might be optimistic and like see things that aren't quite there yet, as already being here, at the same time, we also have a more rational mind that is available to us. We have access to looking at data, looking at facts, being objective if we want to. And so this new moon is going to call us into that. If we are trying to use the energy in the most efficient and appropriate way, we will be leaning on our mental faculties. And with this Mercury in Gemini trining Saturn retrograde in Aquarius, we also have the opportunity to really ground things into reality. So I see how this could be here now, but I'm going to stop myself in my tracks, talk myself back a little bit and say, yes, let's act on this inspiration. Let's act on this new idea, but let's also be realistic about the timeline of this. Let's also be realistic about what it takes to achieve this, and not exaggerate or go too far into something without it being realistic. And so Mercury with this trine to Saturn is helping us plan carefully for the future and to balance out those quick reactions or quick judgments of Jupiter to be so excited about something. And this is going to help us become emotionally fulfilled later in life. So we might have to make decisions now that kind of temper us or pace us so that in the future we will be satisfied and not kind of let down by the big thing that we thought this could be in this moment right now. Saturn is also retrograde, so there can be some aspect of revising things with Mercury here, where Mercury in Gemini is asking us to really think about everything in a very logical way. Okay, I've committed myself to this, but I have these new ideas. How am I going to juggle and balance this old versus new commitment? Do I need to let certain things go? Do I need to approach my work differently? How can I manage my time in a more, again, realistic way? And so this is going to be something that we, again, have the opportunity to do. And hopefully some of us will actually act on this. And so there can be some revisions of our existing commitments that happen in this process. Or we might need to think about the things that have maybe kept us like stable or tied down and consider if any of that is kind of dead weight and what of that we need to bring with us forward. Because sometimes those existing commitments, those things that tie us down, are helpful and foundational, and other times they're just like a heavy backpack that we're ready to let go of. And so this is our time to analyze that, to understand, you know, again, what is going to bring us long-term success. But we don't want to over-exaggerate and be overly optimistic and think, oh, I can just quit my job because I have this brand new idea and it's all going to work out. You want to be grounded in the reality of a situation and think, okay, this brand new idea, love it, it's going to work out, but how long will it take? Do I have to keep my current job? How can I manage both of these commitments? Can I reduce my hours? Can I still make that work financially? Do I need to take another job to make this thing work? So there's a lot of questions and negotiating that we can do with ourselves. And this is a time of a lot of potential success because of the fact that Venus is in an exact sextile with Jupiter. It's like, okay, once we get all of our ducks in a row, we can then go out and create the resources, create the connections, cultivate the ideas, especially ideas with Venus and Gemini, have the conversations and everything that we need to get ourselves on track for what we want. So all the potential is there, but we just need to make sure that we're doing our due diligence in order to see things through long term. Something else that's going on at this new moon that's not exactly in our favor is Mars in Aries making a square to Pluto. Mars is also sextiling Saturn retrograde. So Mars and Saturn in aspect, even though it's a good aspect, can be challenging because these are the malefic planets. These are the planets that tend to cause the most strife and discord in our life. So them working together can be helpful or hurtful. So in some ways it's helpful because Mars is our boost of energy and Saturn is our long-term stability. And so it's like, okay, we're energized to create what we need to do, or to do what we need to do to create our long-term happiness and long-term success. Great. But also there's part of this that can create like irritations, especially with the square with Pluto, or feel like there are like certain things in our way, or certain people or circumstances that can make us really angry, can make us really emotionally frustrated. And if it's not properly channeled, if this energy is not properly channeled into our goals, it can manifest as kind of that explosive anger, or it manifests as something that feels like it's really stifling us and we need to like lash out in some way. And so we need to see these bumps or barriers or things in our way as opportunities for growth, and use the energy that they generate within us, use that frustration or whatever kind of difficult emotion it generates to pour into our goals, instead of using that as a sign that we're not on the right track, which I don't think we will, because this is more of a determined kind of energy. I don't see us necessarily being deterred by this. However, I see this as being something where it can almost like take us off our path in a way where it's like diverting our attention of, oh, this thing is pissing me off. Like, let me focus and concentrate on that, instead of seeing this as something that's generating energy that we can then pull from and refocus into our business, refocus into our objectives, what we're looking to do in our lives next, whether that's buy a house, make new friends, start something new, like whatever it is. If you feel that there's something in your life like taking away from that, you need to take that energy and redirect it, and the frustrations, and redirect it into your goals. So I hope that's making sense, because this can be something that is like detrimental, or used as fuel for the fire in a really positive way. Some of those things could even be something that catches you off guard, or even more so, I don't really necessarily think that is potential, but I feel like more so what's happening with this is there's some need to like fight for what you want, fight for what you believe is right. And there can be like those little things that kind of get in the way and make you feel like it's harder to get what you want, or, you know, whatever. Like, I'm trying to think of an example. Like for me, for example, I want to just only do astrology, but I also need to have a job. Like I need to make more money on the side because my astrology business hasn't fully taken off yet. And so there is that element of me being maybe frustrated with being stuck in the situation that I'm currently in, but it is reality. And so it's like, how do I navigate that and maybe channel any of the frustrations I feel towards not being able to just do the thing that lights me up? And how can I take that energy and put it directly into my career to use it as motivation and fuel to succeed faster, to go more, to work harder, so that this does become something that can be my full time. So that's a kind of an example of this, and it might look different for everyone, but I think many of us will have to have some kind of ending in order to essentially, like, in order to push towards what we want. I think that there is some kind of blockage that Mars squaring Pluto can bring up, something that can again bring up anger, and there has to be some kind of ending to it. So it's either ending the emotional frustration around it and channeling it somewhere else, or ending a situation because it's no longer viable and you need to direct your energy elsewhere. There's some type of like cutoff where you intuitively know that you can't just keep feeding into whatever that is, because it's again diverting your attention from what truly matters to you and your long-term success and happiness. And so there has to be this 10 of swords where you're like, I am not this person anymore. I'm not going to react this way anymore. I'm not going to keep this situation or this person in my life anymore. And then because of that, you have freed up the energy, or you have regained your power over that situation, and you can put it in towards something that feels really in line with you. And this is going to help you achieve more emotional equilibrium. It's going to help you follow your intuition more. And so the things that you do go after will have like the fullest and best version of yourself so that you can succeed. So a lot of becoming very in tune with our emotions. We can experience some frustrating emotions, some big emotions, some really happy emotions. We might feel really loving and nurturing towards people. We might have some areas of our life that feel frustrating. So it's kind of an interesting mixed bag, but ultimately I see this as being a moon in which we have a lot of drive to push things forward, to start things new, the things that are going to be more emotionally fulfilling for us. And because Venus is in that exact sextile with Jupiter, we are being given these really beautiful opportunities to act on something. It's not like we have this emotion, this desire for something, and then there's this desert, barren land, nothing to do, no way to move forward. We have an idea. We have a communication. We have a connection. We have something come through that gives us the next step forward, or that seedling that we have the potential to plant. And so it's our choice now, whether we're going to get distracted by our frustrations and limitations, or if we're going to use that as motivation to plant the seed, to act on it, and do what's emotionally fulfilling and intuitively right for our soul right now. So that is what I'm seeing for this new moon. And I'm going to go ahead and break this down for all of the signs right now. So go ahead and stay tuned for that. All right. So up first, we have my beautiful Aries risings. So this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 4th house. So many of you might have this new emotional beginning in general, or new beginning within the home. And I definitely think it's going to be something deeply reflective for you, because I just pulled the Hierophant and the Hermit card, which are both cards about really understanding something about yourself, going within to discover what these emotions are trying to tell you about yourself and what you need out of a situation. And because Jupiter is in your 1st house, this is a time for a lot of personal growth. There's an opportunity knocking at your door in the potential of many areas of your life. And so this emotional beginning and awareness and insight, all these things are coming up to show you where you absolutely need to answer the doors that are knocking, if that makes sense. And I feel like you guys are. I feel like you guys are definitely acting on these new things. And you want to get excited. You want to be optimistic. But of course, you also don't want to be overly optimistic in the sense that you think this one thing or this new thing has all the answers to all of your problems. I think it's going to be important to understand that the answering of that door, checking in with your emotions and really understanding why you're doing something, all those things are great. And it has the potential to grow you long term, but it doesn't mean that that one instance or this one day or this one thing is going to ultimately satisfy everything. There may be some areas in which you still need to make changes and grow and evolve. And I pulled the Modify card. So I feel like it's almost saying that maybe some of the things that are coming through right now are indicators of how you can grow and how you can succeed, but they're also not quite right in their current form. It's almost like these elements of you are giving way to this new path. Your emotions are kind of showing you the right direction, but in their current state and the way things currently are, it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's not like the answer. It's not the epitome of your success. It's the breadcrumb that will lead you to the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And so I feel like that's almost like an indicator from the universe that these gifts and these experiences and these emotions are leading you to where you're meant to go, rather than the end of the line or the answer right now. And I pulled the Turtle card, which I feel like is exactly what I'm talking about. Like, there is something that's slower and steadier to this than maybe many of us care to admit at times. And hopefully this Mercury in Gemini in your 3rd house, making a trine to Saturn in the 11th, will help you plan long term. And I think your community, your friendships, your current living situation, those things have the potential to really grow and thrive, but it's something that also will take time. And so it's like, if we just kind of honor that things are growing at their natural pace and that they're leading from one success to another, then it's going to be the perfect dose of optimism mixed with realism. You guys also have Venus in the 3rd, making a sextile to Jupiter in the 1st. So it's really a huge potential here to gain a lot of like important ideas and information from others. So having conversations with people about your next steps, like really laying things out on the table, talking things out, journaling, all of those are really going to help you understand where you're at and maybe some missed opportunities or ways in which you can maximize your potential and your success. You also have Mars, which is your ruling planet in Aries, super strong, and it's making a square with Pluto in your 10th house and a sextile with Saturn. So I think that there's something, again, that's like slowing you down a little bit. It's like getting you excited and pumped up about new beginnings, but also taking you a step back and saying, yes, we're going towards this new beginning. Yes, there's so much happiness on the other side of this, but there's a lot of lessons and things you have to move through. There's maybe some healing, maybe there's some community building, some personal realizations that you have to do, some tempering of your own mind and body in a way, to like really draw your energy back instead of just going 100% out into the world and thinking like that is what's going to lead to success, when in reality it can lead to burnout. There has to be some level of consistency here. Pluto in the 10th house can indicate that there are certain challenges in the career area, with Mars squaring it, that you are being encouraged to overcome. Like, how can I see this as an opportunity for growth? How can I use this as fuel to the fire rather than something that is like frustrating me or, rather than something that I'm going to let kind of get in my head and get in my way. I pulled the Moon card, the King of Wands, and the Page of Pentacles. To me, the Moon card is telling me that there may be elements here of the suppressed self, which could be coming out to play in your career or in ways in which you're meant to progress in your goals and your life objectives, because Pluto is a very secretive and suppressed, shadowy planet. So your ruling planet making a square to Pluto in the 10th can indicate that it's specifically on your track to achieve your goals, that you are going to maybe encounter some of these like more repressed parts of yourself. And so that might be where some of the delays are coming from, or some of those blockages are coming from. But with the King of Wands and the Page of Pentacles, I feel like you are really motivated to work on these aspects of yourself, and you're really motivated to work on your goals and objectives. And so anything that is meant to be processed emotionally is going to be very beneficial for you. And ultimately, with the new moon in the 4th house of your emotional center, it's almost like this new beginning in your home and in your heart is going to give you the opportunity to process some of what has happened in the past, and stir up some of the things that have maybe kept you feeling sedated or overwhelmed or underperforming. And it's going to like release a lot of inner energy so that you now have more drive and momentum. Maybe not momentum necessarily, but momentum, but like steady momentum, but like more drive and ambition towards achieving your goals. And the Page of Pentacles to me is just indicating that it is that one step at a time process, and like uncovering many of these things within you are going to move you one step further and further and further. And I think it's going to help you feel like you're gaining traction. So yeah, that's essentially what I'm seeing for you. Again, there is this modify card. So there is something that needs alteration here. Mars making a square to Pluto can indicate that, and especially the Cancer new moon can indicate that some of these modifications or alterations are things happening within. So it's like, having to release something that you have been like, I almost want to say like releasing expectations. Like maybe you have some sort of expectation. And this modify card is saying like, can we maybe not have so many expectations? And then I'm going to read some of what this book says. Work on releasing your fears. So this can especially pertain to your life goals and career and objectives. Work on releasing your fears and learn to affirm the good in a situation, because Pluto can bring up a lot of fears and insecurities and doubts. Those repressed parts of the self that the moon represents in these cards is showing up here in terms of allowing you to confront those things head on and release them, because those have presented as blockages within your like pursuit of your objectives. Positive emotions are linked to effort, focus, energy, and inspiration. This is like a perfect card for you. Your emotions and actions influence your body. They can raise or lower your energy and impact your physical body and health. Positive thinking will enhance your energy. Fake it until you make it. That is, you may not feel happy or powerful, but act as if you do. When you make the adjustment and act as if you're happy, your mood will shift positively. Take the steps to create positive change. Are you holding on to past situations and dwelling on them? Be willing to release the past and let yourself change your thinking. Blah, 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 blah. The angel brings awareness to how your thinking influences your world and what you have no control of. If you're stuck when it comes to modifying your viewpoint, call on your guardian angels to help you think positive in any situation. So I think ultimately Mars square Pluto can bring up some of those negative thoughts, again, some of those repressed thoughts. And it's almost like you're having to change and modify them internally so that you're focusing and using that energy that you were putting towards them to come to inspiration or what you can create that's new and exciting rather than putting it back into the old. So I hope that this was succinct and made sense for you guys. And that is what I see. If you're interested in booking an astrology reading, you can do so using the link down below, or you can learn astrology from me, which is also in the link down below. I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right. Up next, I have the beautiful and wonderful Taurus risings. So I kind of feel like this could be a really exciting time for you guys for many reasons. Let me first start off by saying this is a Cancer new moon happening in your third house. And I think that you guys are going to be going through a nurturing process within the mind, having really rejuvenating conversations and ways of looking at things, especially because your chart ruler, Venus, is in Gemini in your second house, making a sextile to Jupiter in the 12th. So Venus sextile Jupiter tends to give us many abundant opportunities. And for you, it could be opportunities to work and connect with other people, especially. And this has a potential to manifest some serious long-term benefits in regards to your sense of security and financial success. And I think also it's going to give you a sense of confidence and reassurance and trust from the universe that these are the right steps forward. Some of you guys could be entering into soulmate contracts and relationships, and this doesn't have to mean a romantic relationship. It could be any kind of relationship, but there's something coming through here in which you are being socially supported by your community, by a certain relationship or dynamic, or even family. There's some level of support here in which you have more potential to achieve success because of this interconnected system that you are working within. Okay, so this moon is also, again, in your third house, making a square to Jupiter in the 12th. So it is possible also to, how do I put this? I feel like when something is making an aspect to the 12th house, there can be parts of ourselves that are operating within the social sphere or conversations that are not within our awareness. They are parts of our repressed self or unconscious self that we are acting on, but we don't, again, have full control and awareness of it because it's almost like a subliminal kind of thing coming through. And so this is good in some ways because a square to Jupiter tends to be very good in some ways. So there might be ways in which you act with like blind faith, and it's through your conversations and your energy that you transmit this idea of optimism and trust in the universe and feel really spiritually and emotionally supported. And because of that, things tend to just work out. But there can also be ways in which you maybe still need to trust or you still need to grow. And this lack of faith can show up. So it can kind of be like one or the other. But I think ultimately it's not going to be like very detrimental. I just see this as possibly showing up in your interactions without this full awareness. So yeah, but again, with Venus making that sextile to this planet, I think this is hopefully going to act as some type of aid or benefit in the long run. You guys also are experiencing Uranus on the North Node in your first house. So this is a time just generally because Uranus and the North Node are like kind of together for a little bit of time. Uranus is quite slow moving. So this is a time of general change in your life anyway, and it's a time of in which you can have personal freedoms and revolutions occur from all of these new and full moons and eclipses and everything. So generally, I think that you guys are in a period of time in which making large leaps and large jumps is so much more accessible to you. I did pull the Five of Swords and the Page of Wands, and you guys are experiencing Mars in Aries in your 12th house, squaring Pluto in Capricorn in your 9th. There can be like arguments and frustrations with Mars squaring Pluto. Especially with this new moon being in your 3rd house, it can come through conversations. That is a potential. However, I will say that having any planet in the 12th can bring up, I feel like, deep-seated internal frustrations rather than things that we necessarily see manifest outwardly. I almost feel like socially is where you're going to be most benefited through your community, through that support system, through relationships, having great conversations. But I feel like there might be some internal stuff happening in which you may be feeling really motivated and not even understand where this energy is coming from. But you also may be experiencing more anxiety or fears as well. So there can be like a push from a negative place, if that makes sense. Like, oh, I'm really inspired and motivated to work on this thing. But it's because there may be some like really deeply buried fears or insecurities that are driving you. And so that's something that I would kind of look at. It's wonderful to be inspired regardless of where it comes from, but it can also be helpful to self-diagnose and understand where your underlying motivations are. And with Mercury in Gemini right now, you are much more objective and tapped into reality, especially being in your 2nd house. I feel like things just become a lot more tangible and easy to plan for. And this trine also with Mercury in the 10th house to Saturn, with Mercury in the 2nd house trining Saturn in the 10th. This is really great for goal planning and setting, especially financially, being almost like a little bit more prudent with your decisions in terms of spending and managing resources. And so this part of your mental faculty can help you maybe start to kind of dig deeper into your underlying motivation. So there's something like very practical to your energy right now, to your mind, that you can then apply to the more like buried or abstract part of yourself that's like fueling this desire and motivation. And I hope that things that I'm saying make sense, because I feel like I'm talking in such an abstract, weird way today. I like don't know why. Yeah. Okay. Just pulled another card which says get clear. So let's see what that means, because I feel like that's kind of has something to do with what I was just saying, but we'll see what that means here. Get clear. Take a moment to stop and think about what your intentions truly are regarding the situation. I feel like that's exactly what I was just saying about understanding your underlying motivations for this inspiration and moving towards security, all these things. It's like you want to have those things. You want to be pursuing them. You want to be inspired, but what are the intentions? This is necessarily to ensure that you manifest what you want rather than what you don't want. Okay, this is helpful also because, as I was just saying, you might be trying to be inspired because of a lack or because of a fear. And so sometimes that can manifest the opposite result. Not saying that it will, but you don't want to mix that negative energy there in the recipe if you don't have to. Writing a list may help you track your intentions, identify a course of action, and focus on your desire. It may also highlight gaps in the information you currently have at hand. Follow up on what you need to know. Share your concerns and goals with those guiding you or someone you feel safe sharing with. Being clear as a matter of setting parameters on how you would like your life to unfold. It's vital to be clear about your intentions and desires. Have a clear picture of what you value most. So essentially, I feel like it's allowing you guys to use your motivations to help shape your mind and manifest your reality from a very clear and intentional place, and using the support of others in conversations to get very clear on what those underlying motivations and drives are and make sure they're on board with what you want. All right. So I hope that makes sense to you guys and that it resonates. If it does, let me know by liking, commenting down below. I always read all the comments and they mean so much to me. And if you want an astrology reading from me, you can also find that linked in the description box down below. I have, of course, yearly forecasts and actual just birth chart readings, life purpose readings, synastry readings for your relationships, all that jazz. And if you want to learn astrology so you can do that for yourself, I have an entire course for it linked in the description box down below too. I hope you guys have a wonderful day and a beautiful Cancer new moon. Bye. All right. And up next, we have my beautiful Gemini risings. So for you guys, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your second house of finances. And as I said that, I just pulled the Chariot and the Nine of Wands. Okay, interesting. So this new moon is making an exact square to Jupiter in the 11th house. I will say, when I see something like this with a square with Jupiter, there is a concern to me around excess, extravagance, overspending. So just be a little bit more careful around overspending and maybe like being overly optimistic about how finances could work out. This is a blessing in terms of financial opportunities, especially because Venus is in Gemini transiting through your first house, and it's also making an exact sextile to Jupiter. So there are a lot of potentials here for relationship connections to come through and give you money, or for things to just kind of work out in your favor. So I do see money increasing. I do see more opportunities coming to you. Maybe you even feel more physically attractive because Venus is transiting your first house, your sign. However, you don't want to be overly optimistic and think, oh, because I look this way right now, I'm always going to look this way and I don't have to try hard. Or, oh, because this thing is coming to me now, I can spend my money and I don't have to save. So there has to be this kind of sobering mentality as well that is going to help you. But with the Nine of Wands next to the Chariot, I'm really getting the sense that you guys are having some kind of breakthrough, because the Nine of Wands can be this really relentless energy where we have to try really hard and push and push and push. And it's like we're barely moving forward, even despite all this effort. But with the Chariot card next to it, it's like things are finally starting to pick up the pace. We don't have to worry as much about expending energy for no reason. Like things start to create more green lights, especially given the astrology. There's a lot more green lights involved in this. However, there are a little bit of challenges and hardships, which I'm going to mention in a second. But in general, there are many opportunities and green lights and things opening up for you to move quicker in terms of your financial future. So if you're looking to buy a house, if you're looking to invest more into something, if you want to just make more money in general, or if it's more in terms of material possessions, your value and your net worth can increase, and there is going to be less of a struggle in order to make that happen. And this is often also going to help you come to terms more with what you need to emotionally feel fulfilled in pursuit of finances, because this is a Cancer new moon. So it's an opportunity for you to see what really brings me joy in my pursuit of money. What can I do that's like actually in line with my nature, my gifts, my personality? And then on top of that, this is a lot about developing confidence to sustain that or to attract what you're looking for. So kind of removing any mental or especially emotional blockages around your confidence so that things come to you a lot faster. And so that's a huge gift that I'm seeing with this new moon. And with the square of Jupiter in the 11th, there can be the extravagance and the spending and being overly optimistic can specifically be influenced from your friend group because Jupiter is in the 11th house. So maybe there are certain goals or ventures that you want to pursue that you're going a little bit overboard with or over optimistic with, or it's with specific groups of people, like, oh, their friends are inviting out to these events and you're having to spend more. So that is specifically the area in which that might come through for you. Mercury, your chart ruler, is in Gemini, doing super strong here. It's making a trine to Saturn, which is ultimately going to give it a more grounded nature and is going to give it the opportunity to be more practical in its approach. And so you are thinking long term right now. You are willing to work hard right now. And I think you're starting to see the benefit or the payoff from some of those results. Mercury also being in Gemini is going to make you feel like you are very much in touch with your essence or your nature, because your intelligence, your way of communicating, all those things just feel like they're clear, they're easy, they're straightforward, and there's less of this struggle to kind of get your ideas across in general. This also can pertain to traveling as well. If some of you are going on trips, it's like the travel, while it may be like slower and you have to put certain efforts into it, there's not necessarily like huge blockages that come up, or big weird issues that come up during travel. So that looks good to me. Okay. So what I feel like is happening with this new moon is this essence of having your intuition on board and really tuned in with this Queen of Cups, and this fact that it's a Cancer new moon. It's like really tuning into how you feel, how your body feels, how your gut is feeling. But then also we have the Ace of Swords, which is very much the Mercury element here, very much the Venus and Mercury in Gemini, where the intellect is there. You are having brand new ideas, inspirations. And so I feel like you're having intuitively guided inspirations or ideas and of how to move forward in your life right now. And I think with that Mercury making a trine to Saturn, you know kind of the future steps that you'll have to take. And so you're starting to plan, you're starting to get serious about the long term and how you can make some of these new ideas come to life. So let's talk about some of the more challenging situations, which is Mars in Aries in your 11th house squaring Pluto in the 8th. There can be some challenging emotional situations that come up, particularly within the friend group. Maybe you find that there are certain people that you are fighting with that you're not used to fighting with, or maybe there are certain things that you're having to like look at within yourself. It can be really any kind of relationship, but there are certain triggers or wounds, insecurities, and fears, especially fear around loss or fear around rejection or fear around vulnerability and not being accepted for who you are, that can come up at this time. And as I said that, I was pulling the Knight of Cups. So for some of you, this could be in particular a romantic connection, but it's not going to be that way for everyone. But the Knight of Cups in its essence is also really talking about being very passionate in the pursuit of what it wants and what it emotionally desires. And so if something is kind of coming up in terms of like coming up and getting in the way of you pursuing what you're passionate about, whether that's in relationships, money, career, whatever, those things can become much more obvious, and you'll have to kind of sit and work through them now, maybe more than you normally would. Okay, let me pull an advice card, and I got receive healing. So this might be a time in which you are finally able to receive things. And I feel like being in the second house, there's a lot of healing around confidence and self-worth and value. And so I think a lot of the healing might come in specifically around that area of your life. And Mars making a square with Pluto can maybe bring some stuff up around where that is lacking so that it can be healed and worked through. And then I also have the Starfish, which is generally a card that's indicating this Venus and Gemini of being attractive, having star quality, shining now more than usual. And so people might have their eyes on you. They might gravitate towards you, and you can kind of receive blessings from this. And I'm just going to read this receive healing card. It's actually the very first card of this deck. Let me see if anything comes through this. The first and most important step for healing is being able to recognize you need it. When you're asked about your health, you discount what's going on by stating you're fine. You're being asked to acknowledge your need for healing. Whether your wounds are physical, mental, or emotional, or even spiritual, you may need the support of someone who can help you face your concerns. Getting professional advice is recommended. Okay, I think that's kind of pretty straightforward. It's just about you guys being able to receive healing around, honestly, finances, value, self-worth, and all of that. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Gemini Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you're interested in astrology reading, I would love to give you one. I am offering those in my website, willowsboom.com, or linked down in the description box down below. And if you want to learn astrology for yourself, that will also be linked there. So I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, and up next, we have the beautiful Cancer Risings. So for you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your very first house, which is usually a bigger deal in astrology and has more weight to it. So you might start to notice some bigger changes in your life because of the fact that this is a new beginning in your sign. And that can essentially mean a nice emotional refresh or rejuvenation or reset in many ways. This new moon in your first house is also squaring Jupiter in your 10th house. So you might have the potential for some new career opportunities to come through, or to be more emotionally satisfied and fulfilled within your career. Because it is a square with Jupiter, we do need to be mindful of overindulgence or setting too high of expectations that are not realistic and cannot be met. And so just remember that within your career, you have the potential for many new doors to be opening for you to step through, to have success, to have what you're looking for, to be satisfied emotionally, but it might not be as exaggerated as you think it would be. And so, for example, if you get an opportunity that lines itself up, maybe you think, okay, now I can take this job and I can quit my other job, or maybe I can go into this direction and I don't have to look in the past and I don't have to do all these things. It's like, well, life is still there. You might still have to have this other thing that you're working on, or you might still have to, honor certain realities financially or in terms of like pre-existing commitments. So those are just examples, but just you don't want to get too caught up in something being the be-all end-all answer. Because this is a wonderful time for growth and prosperity, and a time in which we might be overly excited and kind of putting all of our ducks into one basket. That's not a thing, but okay. So I pulled the Three of Swords in reverse. That's interesting. And then the Justice card. So I do think it's going to be a time of healing. If some of you have had some heartbreak, especially in terms of relationships or career, I feel like some of these things are going to start balancing themselves out. And I feel like you're almost going to find an internal equilibrium. You do have Mars in your 10th house squaring Pluto in your 7th. So this could indicate some of those issues, like issues within work relationships, or issues within relationships that somehow affect work, or issues in the workplace that affect your relationship, or vice versa. In general, there's something happening here that can cause a level of emotional frustration, and with the Three of Swords in reverse, some kind of heartbreak. But because it was reversed, I feel like there's an overcoming of this or releasing of this. So you might encounter something again that you have to like push through, or you might just have things kind of come up emotionally. But I'm getting the sense that you're achieving a greater sense of homeostasis emotionally. Maybe if things have felt out of balance, that there's a healing happening, there's a releasing happening. And yeah, some of you could be experiencing the heartbreak right now, but I feel like it's all leading to a balancing out of things, if that makes sense. So whether the heartbreak was in the past and you're healing from it, or if it's happening now, this is a really positive new moon. So I really feel like you're getting a lot from this. Like there's a really beautiful experience coming out here to create that equilibrium internally. And I pulled the Three of Wands. So I feel like you guys are also in a state of planning for what belongs in your future. Let me pull a card for the Three of Swords. What is happening with this Three of Swords for my Cancer risings? I got the Page of Wands. Okay, so I'm kind of getting the sense that like the Page of Wands to me feels like an idea, an inspiration, a concept, or something that you are excited about. It could be a relationship, but for many of you, it might be career-wise, that something maybe led to a dead end. Something led to some disappointing feeling, or like a door closed. But because the Justice is there, I almost feel like that was in your favor. Like this thing not working out was ultimately so that you could have something more emotionally fulfilling, or this thing not working out is because it wasn't actually right for you in this moment and you need something that is your match. The Justice card gives me a sense that you're getting what you deserve, and you deserve something better than what was maybe not working. And so, yeah, that Mars square Pluto can indicate something not working, but it's like there's something even better coming along or something even more fruitful. And that's why I think we got the Three of Wands, which is a card of planning for the future. It's like something that you can see grow with you over time. And again, be more emotionally fulfilling for you in the long run. You also have Mercury and Venus right now in your 12th house. So this is a deeply reflective time, a time in which your mental faculties might be a little bit offline and you're more intuitive and more of a feeler at this moment. Mercury is also making a trine to Saturn in the 8th. So you can be in this process of kind of trying to mentally configure how to release certain things in your life. You know, maybe releasing certain fears, certain insecurities that could have had you playing small or could have had you going after this initial inspiration that was actually not in your best interest or not fully like the best possible thing for you. So maybe I think a lot of this right now is like you're really understanding what's going on internally and working through some of those things so that you can do what's in your best interest in the future. Venus in the 12th house making a sextile to Jupiter in the 10th is really beautiful for career opportunities that can kind of feel like they're coming as a miracle or like a savior to whatever didn't work out. So if there's some kind of, it doesn't have to be career, it could be anything in terms of goals and life objectives in the future. I feel like you're getting some kind of support here, whether that's many of you, it will be either financial or relationship support, like somebody coming through to give you an opportunity kind of out of nowhere. And some of you might be more emotional and, you know, like something that you're experiencing a healing within, and that is somehow benefiting your career. So it's going to vary depending on your personal chart, of course, but that's generally what I'm seeing. I feel like there is a new leaf turning over here for you guys in many ways, and healing from maybe something that led to some type of disappointment in your life. Okay. So is there anything else I want to say? Anything else you want for Cancer risings to come through? My gosh, pulled way too many cards. All right, I got the Three of Pentacles and the Strength card, the Queen of Wands and the Seven of Pentacles and the Six of Cups. For some of you guys, there might be something that you are revisiting, or some person, some of you guys with the Three of Pentacles and the Strength card may have to like endure or move past a difficult work relationship. That's not going to be for everyone, but because Mars is in the 10th square and Pluto in the 7th, there is a point of contention here with relationships in the workplace. And the Strength card usually gives some level of endurance that you need to, you know, endure or have while working together with someone. But with the Queen of Wands, Seven of Pentacles, and the Six of Cups, I almost feel like you guys are becoming more confident and working hard on something, and something that might be from the past, like some idea that you used to have that could come up again, especially because Mercury is making a trine to Saturn, which is related to time, whether that's in the future or in the past. There is some level of time being a really important thing in our negotiation of what we are looking for. So yeah, I feel like you guys might have something come up from the past, especially with all these, with Mercury in the 12th house as well. And then the Six of Cups also reminds me of this like divine innocence and this excitement and this like childlike play that I feel like is coming through for you. So there's something that you have the opportunity to work on that I think is going to light you up in that more emotional way than you have before. So that is what I'm seeing. Let me pull two more cards. Let me pull one for advice. I got the Barriers card. Interesting. And let me pull an animal card just to kind of see what you embody this month. What does Cancer embody animal-wise? All right. So you guys got the golden egg. Oh, I hate when I get these cards because I always have to look up what they mean. It's really annoying. Let's see. The golden egg. The black egg. Message at the center of the heart. The unstruck sound. Okay. This is all about not rushing, not pushing, not grasping, in deep and restful ease. I feel like a lot of this is about allowing, and having Mercury and Venus in the 12th house can be really helping you get into a state of allowing and receptivity instead of trying to manifest really hardcore. It's like if I'm inspired, if I allow myself to rest, things work out. And I think that's one of the messages that's coming through for you here right now. And then the barriers card. Wait, oops. Let's see what that says. You have created barriers or defense mechanisms that may be preventing emotional or mental healing. The universe is eagerly waiting and willing to assist you with your healing, but you may not be receiving the healing you desire. Something seems to be blocking or hindering your restoration. And that's what I feel like this new moon is about. It's about helping you renew or like restore yourself emotionally. So the blockages that were once there, I think, are starting to become alleviated, and you're starting to work through them a little bit. The obstacle may be a protective measure you have put in place to keep your heart from further harm. The shield may seem necessary and logical. However, it's also preventing the healing light being sent to you from penetrating and healing your pain. Defense mechanisms are a response to being wronged, hurt, rejected, abandoned, or abused. You may have had a mental vow not to allow yourself to feel a certain type of pain again. Once the block is in place, you may find it difficult to talk about certain situations or to receive corrective information about your experience. By identifying the root cause of your defense mechanism, healing can begin. You need to be willing to tear down the walls you've built so that healing can occur. All right. I think that's what's happening. I think that's why the Three of Swords is the first card I pulled out, is there is some type of healing that, or some type of pain that has been lingering, that has been, that now is a time to heal and to let down some of those walls. And I think that this new moon has the potential to do that. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Cancer Rising. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. I love all of your comments. I always read them. And if you want an astrology reading, you can purchase one from lilsboom.com or using the link in the description box down below. Or you can learn astrology from me, which is also linked down there. All right. Have a great one. Bye. All right. Up next, we have my beautiful Leo risings. So for you guys, this new moon in Cancer is in your 12th house. And I just pulled so many cards around cups, around healing. And I should say cups as in like the Nine of Cups. Emotional cards. I pulled the Sea Serpent, which is about emotional healing. I pulled the Flow card, which is about finding your peace, your inner peace, happiness, choosing the state of happiness with your mindset, manifesting through your emotions. So I think that this is going to be an extremely emotional time, but in a good way, in a very sensitive way. Like you are very attuned to your needs, to your desires. You have some time alone. You have some time to really check in with yourself. And I feel like you also are having a lot of, I don't know, I just feel like your heart is happy. You're getting things that are lighting you up. You're getting things coming to you that feel like, okay, I am emotionally fulfilled in this phase of my life. And so let's go ahead and talk about it. New moon in Cancer in the 12th house, there again might be some things that come up that are hidden, but it's all to kind of release it and to heal it. I did pull the Star card next to Sea Serpent. So it's like finally feeling optimistic about the future, finally releasing any of those negative thoughts. And this moon is also making an exact square to Jupiter in the 9th house. So this is where that optimism is really coming in. My only concern here would be over optimism. We don't want to be so excited that we think this one day or this one thing is going to be the answer to all of our questions, that we're going to have problems again. But ultimately, I don't think that's that big of a deal. We are just seeing you like lifting, like your spirit's lifting essentially, and really feeling like the fog is lifting, the weight is lifting, and you can see how the future is going to be even better than the past. And so I think that this is really something that you guys have been needing for a little bit. Maybe life hasn't been too hard, but whatever harshness has come around is like, finally, I can breathe. I don't have to stress. I don't have to worry. You guys also have Venus in your 11th house, and it's making an exact sextile to Jupiter in the 9th. So relationship seems really positive. I did pull the Knight of Cups, Queen of Cups, and Nine of Cups, which are all indicative of relationship success, being really in love with whoever you are in love with, being really attuned to your relationships, being really connected to your partners, your friends, your family. And the Queen of Cups means that you are also really in touch with your own emotional self. So you're expressing your emotional needs. You are getting really clear about what your partner, your friends need. It's like there's just a mutual understanding happening here that might feel really, really good. And then the Nine of Cups is this wish fulfillment card. So maybe you have been desiring to cultivate a certain type of relationship with your friends, or maybe you are encountering new friendships, creating new friendship circles, whatever it is. It's some kind of really fulfilling thing that's occurring in your life that is creating this emotional connectedness with other people or a specific person. It's also possible to have it with a goal, I guess, but more so I feel like for many of you, it's feeling really surrounded by a community, really supported and really loved. I think that flow card is also saying that as well, like going with the flow, allowing your emotions to flow in and out, not stopping things, not trying to overanalyze things, feeling really in your zone, in your element, just kind of moving according to your own intuition, your own desires. And that isn't in discord with anyone else. It's like everything is flowing. People want what you want. Things are going your way. It's like, it's just a sense of ease that I think has been maybe missing in the past. You guys also have Mars in Aries in the 9th house squaring Pluto in the 6th house. So I think that you guys are really motivated by achieving some of these higher ideals in your life right now, but there may be some mundane factors like at work, specifically in terms of your responsibilities where you have to show up every day. There might be some of those mundane factors that can get a little bit in the way of this like ideal image of life. It's like, okay, I'm going to have this and everything's going to go like this and it's all going to be perfect. And it's like, well, but you still have to wake up at 6 a.m. and go to work. You still have to do these hard things. You still have to do this and that and take care of your responsibilities and clean your house, because that is what makes up this higher ideal of your life. And so it could be a little bit uncomfortable at times. You might have to overcome some like level of friction within the workplace or within your responsibilities or your beliefs about work and things of that nature. You may have to overcome some of those things in order to reach the greatest level of happiness and success and ease. You guys are also experiencing Mercury and Gemini in your 11th house, making a trine to Saturn in the 7th. So this to me is you really working on communication in relationships, really working on that sense of mutual understanding, planning long-term with a partner, with a friend, and kind of seeing yourself with that person long-term, or seeing yourself like create a sense of community, create something together with these people long term. So really solidifying existing relationships, possibly creating new ones as well with that 9 of Cups. And with the Chariot card, I feel like things are just moving in a really positive direction. They feel like they're moving quickly. They feel like they're picking up quickly. They feel like they're a lot more optimistic, and you're processing a lot of these emotions so that you can discard some of the ones that have felt negative and really, again, uplift yourself with these positive ones. So a lot of really beautiful things to look forward to in this time. And I think that you guys are going to notice that your relationships are improving, that your emotions, your optimism is improving. And yes, the responsibility is there. Yes, there are certain hurdles you might have to overcome, even health hurdles. That's a potential as well. But ultimately, I see you overcoming them and feeling really happy and feeling like your wishes are fulfilled right now. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Leo Rising. If it resonates, let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want an astrology reading, if you want to learn astrology from me, there's a link for that in the description box down below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. And up next, we have my beautiful Virgo Risings, my fellow Virgo Risings. This new moon in Cancer is happening in your 11th house. And I feel like this new moon is a lot about feeling things and processing things. And I think you guys might feel really emotionally connected to your community and really uplifted by those around you. But I actually think a lot of you guys are in a different like mental state than usual. One that is more disciplined, because your ruler Mercury is in Gemini and is home sign. So you're in your mental faculties in a strong way. And it's also making a trine to Saturn in the 6th house. So you are having the opportunity to kind of manage and juggle your priorities in a way in which you maybe have struggled to do in the past. I pulled the octopus card, which to me is an indicator of someone with a lot going on, a lot on their plate, a lot they're trying to get done each day. And I feel like with the Emperor and the Knight of Wands and Five of Pentacles, you are creating discipline where there hasn't necessarily been discipline in the past. Especially because next to this Five of Pentacles, I was wondering like, okay, what is this lack? What is this difficulty of getting needs met when I see the Five of Pentacles? Like what is that about? And I pulled some clarifying cards and I got the Two of Swords and Ace of Wands. So I feel like this is a lot about you guys making impulsive decisions or being indecisive even, following passions and not really being certain and clear of what you're trying to accomplish in a day, spreading your energy too thin and then not doing enough at other times, like not managing your time well, not managing your energy well, and not managing your decisions properly, if that makes sense. Like having things either be too indecisive at times or having things be like too passion driven and not logically driven or future driven enough, and being more in the moment. And so I feel like what you guys are working on with the Emperor next to the Five of Pentacles and the Knight of Wands on the other side of it is you guys are really honing in on doing the things that bring you a lot of joy, but are also in your best interest long term. And that's what Mercury making a trine to Saturn does, is it helps us think about longevity. It helps us understand how the current choices that we're making affect the future and have consequences. And so I think that this is one of the biggest gifts that you are getting out of this experience right now, is this ability to understand how your choices are affecting your life long term. And this card is talking about giving up your right to decide, making choices to be like agreeable, like doing things because other people want you to do them. Or maybe you have so many options and sometimes you don't choose the things that actually take you closer to your goals. Sometimes you choose things that take you further away. And so I think that you might have a lot of options right now and you're becoming more disciplined in understanding, what do I need to do for me? And when am I doing certain things? Especially because Jupiter is in Aries, which is all about making decisions for ourselves. So if you've been doing things to overextend yourself to make others feel better, I think that this is a time in which your long-term planning is going to help you see that those decisions, while might feel a relief towards that person in the moment, is ultimately leading to resentment in that relationship, or resentment towards yourself, or unhappiness in the long term. And so I think that's really what you're getting here at this Cancer new moon, is almost like a revitalization of your relationships as a result of your ability to make decisions that are in your best interest, and the relationship then respecting those new boundaries and you respecting your own boundaries within the relationship. And this new moon is making an exact square to Jupiter in the 8th house. So you might have to work through some of those insecurities around asserting your independence, around asserting your desires and your will, if it causes some sort of friction in the friend group. But ultimately, I think that that is going to lead you to develop as a greater, more confident human being with this Nine of Wands, where you understand, this is what I want, this is what I'm here for, and I'm able to go after what I want and make choices and decisions that truly fulfill me, that help me live up to my potential, rather than making myself small to make other people feel more comfortable. And this is ultimately going to benefit your career, with Jupiter and Aries in the 8th making an exact sextile to Venus in Gemini in your 10th house. You are having more opportunities come through in your career. You are seeing that this facing of any insecurities or self-doubt that come up around asserting your will, getting what you want, asking for what you need, making the hard decisions at times. When you confront that, you'll notice that more doors open in your career, more opportunities come through, especially socially or monetarily, which Venus tends to bring through relationships, through connections. It garners respect to have boundaries, to choose yourself and to choose the right thing for yourself each day. And when you continue to do that again and again, more things come to you, because the universe is almost seeing how much you respect yourself and what you desire, and the universe is responding accordingly. You guys also have Mars in the 8th house making a square to Pluto in the 5th. So there can be times in which you may have competing desires, one in which you want to be amicable, one in which you want to have fun, you want to have pleasure, you want to have joy, you want to do the things that feel good. And then another part of you that's like, no, I'm going to confront these shadows within myself. I'm going to hold my boundaries. I'm going to take my power back and all these things. And it's like, those are not necessarily working together at all times. You might have to confront other parts of yourself that want to just give in and give into the comfort, give into the luxury, give into the moment. And those obstacles that you overcome will make you stronger. Saying no, denying yourself the gratification of things in the moment will ultimately make you stronger and enhance your willpower and your sense of confidence. And so that is what I'm seeing for you. And I believe that is all I wanted to mention. Yes, it looks really positive overall. I think you guys are definitely growing in confidence and understanding how to make decisions in your best interest. And that's the only way you're going to be able to juggle so many things. You can't take on more if you can't even, govern the little that you are currently in charge of. I don't know how much you are in charge of, but if you want to expand your life, if you want to take on more, do more, affect change more, you have to first be able to govern and take care of the things that are closest to you right now. So that is what I think you're improving upon. Good luck with this, you guys. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. If you want an astrology reading or if you want to learn astrology from me, there will be links for both of those in the description box down below. And I hope you guys have a blessed day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Libra risings. So for you guys, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 10th house of career. And what's interesting is I feel like a lot of stuff is coming up around relationships. And that might be because this moon is making an exact square to Jupiter in your 7th house of partnership and of friendship and any kind of intimate relationship. And so I'm going to say, first of all, I think that there is a lot of potential here for new career beginnings and new blessings to occur. And if it's not something new, it's like investing further into something that you're already doing, especially because we have the Knight of Pentacles. Yes, the Knight of Pentacles is a card in which we are doubling down on our current efforts for something or continuing our current path in some regard. However, being a new moon, there is something new about the energy. So maybe you have given up something else that you were working on so you can go further into this. Or maybe you have changed certain aspects of who you're working with or certain aspects of your relationship that then give you, like, free up more energy to be directed into your career. Regardless, there is something ending and there is something staying consistent. And I'm getting the feeling that work specifically is there's going to be something very consistent in that, something staying the same in that, while there's also a newness towards it, if that makes sense. Like more energy towards it, or you're adding another thing onto it as well. That's going to kind of depend on the person. And I guess it doesn't have to be in like career specifically. It could be like long-term goals and ways you see things progressing with a partner, or with a friend, like kind of where you're headed in life. There's something new in terms of your goals, but also something consistent or the same in terms of your goals. So I feel like that's super vague, but your cards were like, whoa, this is kind of confusing, but also clear. So yeah, let me get into this. So I start off with the Ten of Swords, and I clarified it with the Lover. So some of you could be having endings in relationships, especially because you do have Mars in Aries making a square in your 7th house, making a square to Pluto in your 4th house. Highly emotional time in which relationships or certain dynamics can present conflicts, can present barriers to your happiness, to your success. There can be people trying to sabotage you, to get in your way, people that don't align with you, things not working out as you'd hoped. I'm just saying like barricades, blockages, that type of thing. Not in the sense of Saturn where it's delayed and we have to work harder, in the sense that we're frustrated and that we can't see eye to eye, we can't seem to make it work. But Mars square with Pluto is an extremely ambitious energy as well. So there's an energy in which we can sort of put to bed maybe old aspects of relationships and have more ambition and drive and focus on cultivating the kinds of relationships or the kinds of parts of relationships we actually want to have in our lives. So with the type of people or with the same people in a different type of relating, essentially. And this could even be within yourself as well. It doesn't just have to be with others, but you can notice that other people trigger certain things within you, and you have certain things that you need to work on. Disowned parts of yourself, non-integrated parts of the self that others are acting as mirrors of, that you can become extremely aware of. And that's why we have the Lovers card with this person looking in the mirror. This ending of the relationship could be some aspect of the relationship with yourself that's ending. If you've always been triggered by people who are really confident, and it's because you don't own your confidence in a certain way, it's like you're finally able to see why those people are triggering you, and you're able to now own that part of yourself and put a full stop end with this Ten of Swords to you getting triggered by that, to you not owning that part of yourself. If this is an actual relationship, you might notice that you tend to gravitate towards people with more or less boundaries, and you're starting to confront that, and maybe you realize you don't want to have that type of person in your life. And so this can be more internal, or this can be external, but there can be some conflict that others kind of bring up within you, but it's really helping you become very strong, very resolute in your goals with this Knight of Pentacles, really working hard on the thing that you've already set foot on. It's not something entirely new, although again, it is a new moon in the 10th house. I feel like it's almost like a refresh or a reset, or adding new energy, reinvigorating something that was already existing. And so the Knight of Pentacles to me is like, you're not starting over, you're not starting completely fresh, but there is something new added to it, whether that's just energy or a new element that you haven't done before. And with the King of Cups, I feel like you're going to be much more emotionally in tune with your career and your life objectives. Like whatever it is you're working for, I feel like you're going to be really plugged into it emotionally. You're going to feel lit up by it. You're going to feel in tune with it. You're going to feel like you can listen to your intuition to guide it, and it's going to flow, and it's going to feel easy. And it's not going to necessarily trigger as much within you. But I do think like whatever is being triggered at this time, whether that's a relationship ending or some aspect within yourself being finally owned and integrated, it is like this kind of, I feel like it's like a really mini like blip of darkness to bring about the light. And that's what I get with this back card, is being able to move past any kind of phase of darkness and understand the blessings that come within it. And I also pulled the hidden blessings card. So to me, it is like, this is one of the darkest cards. It's like during the nighttime here. I do feel like that's what this is. Like there's something that might feel like a little bit challenging, but it's a blessing for you. It's giving you ultimately like the things that you, like want out of life, essentially the success, the relationship types, all those things, because you're confronting things that aren't working. You are having to move past certain obstacles within yourself or with others that are showing you what you're not accepting anymore, what you don't want anymore. And that will strengthen you to have more success within your career, because this is a new moon in the 10th house. So what if this is affecting relationships entirely, which it likely is, that is somehow going to feed into success in your long-term goals for career or just for life. I also pulled the Reawaken card. So there's something in this card that's talking about like owning old parts of yourself, reawakening parts of your identity. So it's like things that maybe you came into during your childhood, you came into this life with, is what I'm trying to say. And it's like you're reawakening to those skills, to those personality aspects, whatever it is. And you're starting to like own it again. And I think that the square with Pluto in the 10th house and Mars in the 7th is helping you reawaken some of these childhood things that are ultimately gifts just kind of lying dormant within you. So I think you're going to benefit a lot from this new moon. It could be a little bit more uncomfortable than for some of the other people, just because I see the Ten of Swords, the back card, the Hidden Blessings card. It seems like there might be something that goes slightly awry, something that feels a little uncomfortable that you have to face with other people. But it's that discomfort, it's that little bit of trial that's ultimately going to leap you forward into success, leap you forward into better relationships, new beginnings in your career, greater happiness, reawakening old parts of yourself that you felt were dormant. It's like a lot of blessings will come from this little blip in time. So if you are feeling any type of way, just know that this is really, really good for you and ultimately extremely healing and emotionally beneficial for you long term. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Libra Rising. If it resonates, please like and comment down below so I can know. And if you want an astrology reading from me, or if you want to learn astrology from me, I will also have links for both in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Scorpio risings. So for you guys, this Cancer new moon is happening in your ninth house of faith, of optimism, of hope, and very future oriented house. So this might be a time in which you are getting a renewed sense of hope. And this is something I also got for Leo risings, which is interesting. And I feel like a lot of emotional healing is coming through. A lot of emotional support from the spirit realms are coming through right now. The ninth house is a very spiritual house, like the 12th. It's where we start to, I feel like, encounter the God or gods that we experience in our lives. And I think that's ultimately what's happening for you, especially because this new moon is also making a square to Jupiter, the typical ruler of the ninth house, or of Sagittarius. And the Jupiter is in Aries in your sixth house. So I feel like it's from this place that like your mental health and even your health can start to improve a little bit. And yeah, I'm going to get into that more in a second. I want to talk about the cards. I have the Temperance, the Eight of Cups, the Star, and the King of Swords. So I think ultimately what is healing for you guys is something that you have walked away from. You have two cards for healing, Temperance and the Star. And in between that is the Eight of Cups. So you are like doing some healing, you walk away from things, and you are doing some more healing. And from this place, you have a lot of optimism and hope for what you will encounter in the future. And so if you guys have recently decided to cut ties with someone or something, or walk away from a habit or a way of thinking about something, I feel like there's going to be a lot of heart healing around this, a lot of release around this, and you're going to start to become much more hopeful about the future, and realize how this could be a good thing for you, whatever it is. I feel like whether it's a good thing or not, with this King of Swords being the last card, I think it's going to give you the objective reality of what's going on. So you can kind of see why you made a certain decision. You can see what it's going to do for your life. Like, you're hopeful and you're faithful, but you also can see how walking away from this thing is benefiting you, whether that's a habit, whether that's a circumstance, a job, a person, anything. It could be anything in your life. It's like, oh, I know exactly why I'm doing this, and I know exactly why I'm setting this boundary. And King of Swords is a lot about that. It's like, objectively, this is what I need for myself, and so I'm going to do that. And sometimes it can be a little bit cold, a little bit distant or bitchy, to be honest, but ultimately it's like you needed this for some type of healing to occur. And so I think that is what's happening right now. And I pulled the Crow card, so I think that there's something extremely psychic about this as well. You guys are very tapped into, you know, what you need, and like even what this will bring you in your future. I feel like you can almost feel like what the past, the present, and the future, how they're all linked together, and why this is happening, and maybe how this fits into a bigger scenario. And yeah, I think it's ultimately going to help you make this decision or help you heal from this decision, because you're almost like really psychically aware of why this is happening on a more universal or soul level. And because of that, it's giving you the ability to not freak out about whatever is happening, and to just tune in, check in, and understand how this little event fits into the bigger picture and is ultimately working out in your favor. And so that's why I think that this is a new moon in the ninth house, which gives you that bigger picture perspective. And with the square with Jupiter in the sixth house, I think this can ultimately benefit your health, your mental health, especially, even your career, like your work that you have to do, your responsibilities. But I guess I wouldn't say like it's going to benefit it, but I would say don't be overly optimistic about how much it's going to benefit it. Like, once I cut this thing out, this person out, or whatever, then I'm going to have this perfect mental health, and then I'm going to have this perfect day, and da da da. It's like, no, not really. A square with Jupiter can indicate over exaggeration, over optimism, but it will help. It will benefit. It will be great for your life. I also pulled the meditation card. So I think that this square with Jupiter is also calling you to become really present in the moment, and to actually take some time apart to meditate, so that you don't get caught in negative thinking. It's like the meditation is going to help realign you, connecting with your spirits, with your guides. All those things are going to help you stay in touch with how this thing is fitting into the larger picture. You guys also have Venus and Mercury in your 8th house. So you guys are kind of going through this metamorphosis period around relationships, around the way that you think about things, around the way that you communicate. All those things are undergoing a transformation this month. And in particular, I think this is a time in which you can encounter your vulnerabilities and insecurities and have the potential for a lot of healing around them in relationships, the shadows, the past, the parts of you that you haven't owned, all those things are going to come up for healing, especially because Venus in the 8th is making an exact sextile to Jupiter in the 6th. So if you sit down and you dedicate yourself and you do the work to meditate, to journal, to do those things, the shadow aspects of yourself in partnerships or in relationships will come to light and be healed and released. But you do have to create that time. You do have to create that space for yourself. Mercury is in Gemini in the 8th, making a trine to Saturn in your 4th. So this is a good time in terms of planning for anything long-term, but especially related to your home and your emotions and working through maybe more challenging emotions and almost creating like a system or a practical way of resolving them. Like, okay, I'm going to read this book. I'm going to go to this therapy session. I'm going to meditate this time. It's like, I'm going to actually create the practical step-by-step process in order to see results in my mental health and in order to face head on some of the harder aspects of myself that have been triggered or come up lately. Anything else I want to mention? Okay, this one's bad for everyone. We also have Mars in the 6th house squaring Pluto in the 3rd. So this could be a time in which communication especially is a little bit more challenging. Especially if you feel like you owe someone something, but that can come up a lot in the 6th house where it's like we're somehow feeling beneath someone, like maybe it's someone that we work with that we're having a little bit more of a contentious relationship with, or maybe we are responsible for something, or maybe like we just feel like this weird like owing nature or like debt to somebody. If that is a thing that can bring up difficult conversations, let me pull a card on that actually to see if anything else comes through. Yeah, the 5 of Swords. There can be like arguments, misunderstandings, especially if there's some type of like guilt or owing there. It's like that contributes to certain resentment and difficulties in conversations as well. So just really be mindful of that because things can become bigger or unnecessarily larger than they need to be. But hopefully that this conflict is here to help you become more in tune with what you need to set boundaries on, more in tune with what your needs are, more in tune with what you need to walk away from to create ultimate healing. So I hope the conversations are not just contentious. I hope that there is a potential for a lot of growth here, but I do think so with all those healing cards. And I think also with your level of awareness and your ability to be quite psychic, you will know why you're having these conversations and how this is all fitting into, like I said many times, the bigger picture. So that is what I see for you, Scorpio Rising. If it resonates, please let me know by liking and commenting down below. If you want to learn astrology or if you want to have a reading from me, I will have links for that in the description box down below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. Okay, up next, I have my beautiful Sagittarius Risings. This new moon in Cancer is happening in your 8th house. So this could be a highly emotional new moon, and the 8th house can often be linked with shared resources as well. So the 8th house is linked with our shadows and our shared resources. And I just pulled the Devil card, which makes a lot of sense. You guys might really feel like you are in your head a little bit, feeling more insecure, more uncertain of yourself in some ways. Maybe you are holding yourself back because of these feelings. Maybe you also are stuck in more like poor habits as a result. That might not necessarily be the case. That's more like 12th house, but sometimes as a result of like, unprocessed emotion or not wanting to look at things, we can bottle it up and bring it out by ignoring it. Again, I think that's more so 12th house, but there are, I think, deep-seated feelings of uncertainty and insecurity right now, or self-doubt, or anything where you are not fully valuing yourself. You're not fully stepping into your confidence, into your power, into your light. Those things are being brought to surface. And next to the Tower card, I think they're being released. They may be released through some challenging situation, especially because we do have Mars making a square to Pluto. There may be some situations in regards to finances, in regards to relationships, or let me actually pull a card on what that might be for you guys. But with Mars squaring Pluto, we have to overcome something. there's a feeling of adversity, like something or someone is getting in our way. We have some type of obstacle from achieving like inner stability. And I think you ultimately are wanting to achieve like inner confidence and stability. And so I think that you may have to face parts of this might be more internal, where you have to face parts of yourself that are seeking stability through comfort rather than like what actually brings stability. So like that's like watching a movie, hanging out with friends, eating comfort foods, doing easy things that can bring stability short term. But long-term stability actually comes from winning the day, doing the hard things, putting those things first, and then doing the things that you need to do to experience joy and ease. And so that could be part of what's going on here, is maybe there's a need to confront your natural desire to stay within your comfort zone right now because of this feeling of uncertainty. So it's like, I don't know if I can do this, so I'm just going to keep doing the things that I've always done to like make myself feel better, stay up late, watch movies, whatever it is, like staying in your bubble. And next to this Tower card, I feel like you're bursting this bubble. You are facing those things head on. You are no longer willing to just stay in this same one track mode. You are willing to fight for your happiness. And that is going to take a lot of perseverance and a lot of energy. And that is what Mars square Pluto can generate, is this ambition and drive to make it happen despite the difficulties in trying to achieve that. This new moon is also making an exact square to Jupiter in the 5th house. So I feel like this is kind of where this could be coming from as well. Like showing how you might seek refuge in things that bring you pleasure and short-term comfort, and to not overindulge in them. But you may find ways in which you can express these feelings or escape these feelings in a creative way, in a thing that does bring you joy, but that isn't going to hurt you long term. So this could be like creating, like getting a new hobby, like doing things that are much more constructive. Instead of eating that cake, going out and playing volleyball, which I've been doing a lot of, or going out and doing art with your friends, or having a date night, like those little things that are at least a net neutral, if not positive, like a positive influence in your life, instead of short-term gratification that can take away. So I really feel like many of you might be having to face some of this, like bursting of the bubble of overindulgence or staying in the comfort zone. And I feel like many of you are being asked to like create community, create friendships, create hobbies, things that bring you a lot of joy, especially with people you like. With this Page of Pentacles and 3 of Cups, that's what I feel like this is suggesting with that square with Jupiter as well. Like doing things that just bring you more happiness, because I feel like maybe you've just had to kind of face a lot of like a lot more adversity, or whenever I see a new moon in the 8th house, it's like there's a lot of the shadows, the insecurities, the adversity, that those things are more present. And so it's like, how can we do something really constructive with this and put energy into the right areas of our life? And so I think having social events, having hobbies, those are really good things to do right now. You guys also have Venus and Mercury in Gemini in your 7th house. So heavy concentration on relationships. I think that's partially the reason why I pulled the 3 of Cups. Really heavy emphasis on cultivating those relationships, establishing more joy in those dynamics. And Venus is making an exact sextile to Jupiter in the 5th house. So if you are going to start a hobby, do it with a friend, meet new people, like really put yourself out there. And if you've been encountering self-doubt around meeting new people, I feel like this is you facing it head on and bursting again outside of that comfort zone. Mercury and Gemini in the 7th, making a trine to Saturn in the 3rd, is going to give you the ability to do the hard things, to have the hard conversations, to put yourself out there, to take, like, there's a conservativeness to Mercury's trining Saturn, but there's also this like judiciousness and strength there as well. So you might not just be like so bubbly and extroverted. I mean, Venus sextiling Jupiter, but like, how should I say this? Like, you might not be super like emotionally expressive with Mercury making a trine to, but you also have new moon in the 8th house. Sorry, I'm like arguing with myself. With Mercury trining Saturn, there's something where like you're maybe not as out there communicative wise, like in terms of being like super, super open, especially with the new moon in the 8th, you feel really deeply, but it's not necessarily like having wearing your heart on your sleeve. However, it's also giving you the ability to know like what to say, how much to say, how to say it. So it's like, even though it's not super out there and in your face, you are communicating the right things at this time. This could be with contracts as well. If some of you guys are looking to buy a house, because I know some Sages are looking into that right now, this could be a really good time for contracts, to finding that right house, to signing the thing and feeling like, okay, I've got all my I's dotted, all my T's crossed. Like, I really know what is going into this contract long term. Because again, there's this judiciousness around facts, around details, around communication that's coming through at this time. And 7th house is related to contracts. So any kind of contract doesn't have to be just a house contract, but a marriage contract, a house contract, a job contract, like all those things. This is a good time for that in general. And then yeah, I feel like that's generally what I wanted to say. Let me pull 2 more cards for you guys. One is going to be an animal card. You guys got the raccoon. Okay, so the raccoon does have this like hidden quality to it. The raccoon is like an animal that's kind of looks like it's wearing a mask. So if you guys have been hiding, like especially if you've been hiding some of your like feelings recently, if you've been going through a hard time with anything, or if you've been feeling vulnerable in any way and feel like you haven't shared that openly, this could be a time in which you are being asked to, with judiciousness, choose like who you want to share information with and open up to, but not just like hide behind a mask. You really want to be out there in the world making real connections with people right now. And I think that these relationships will help you with any difficult emotions you could encounter with a new moon in the 8th house, or just intense emotions. And I did pull the replenish card, which I feel like is talking exactly about this, with getting the hobbies, going out with friends, doing things for you. And I'm just going to read part of what it says. It's not possible to be happy or at your best all the time. Having depleted energy or off days is a natural part of life. However, it's how you manage those times when you're energetically low that's important. It's imperative to take care of your emotional energy just as you take care of your physical well-being. That means addressing depression, fear, mood swings, anger, or feeling drained. Having strategies for coping and replenishing yourself, such as an exercise program, is helpful. Identify ways of regrouping and gaining control of your energy. Schedule a day. Okay, so it's basically giving you suggestions about what you can do for happiness. But that is ultimately what I'm seeing here, is filling up your cup, leaning on friends, leaning on family, having fun hobbies, and doing the things that are actually in your best interest in the long term and not just the short term. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Sag Rising. If it resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. Please do share this with your friends so they can get a sense of what's going on for them too. And if you want to learn astrology or have an astrology reading from me, you can find both of those links in the description box down below. And I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right. And up next, we have my wonderful and beautiful Capricorn risings. So for you guys, this new moon is happening in your 7th house in relationships in the sign of Cancer. And this is, I was going to say, this is such a beautiful time for having new like emotional resets in the area of relationships. And so if you've been having more difficulty or struggling with certain elements of relationships recently, I feel like this is like wiping the slate clean. And as I was talking about this, I pulled the 10 of Cups, which is so much emotional fulfillment, feeling like your partnerships, your friendships, any dynamics in your life, any kind of relationships are filling up your cup. They are meeting your needs. They are connecting with you. They are seeing you. They are understanding you. And it's like, finally, there's some kind of like, yes, like you are there. You are on my path. You get me. And this kind of emotional awareness, feeling attuned to, feeling taken care of, feeling supported, that is extremely beneficial to you. And it's making a square to Jupiter in the 5th house. So this could come from family, or this could specifically be in regards to just feeling much more emotionally uplifted and supported by whoever is in your life so that they feel like family. And yeah, it's just a really good time for that in general. But with the square with Jupiter in the 4th, it's also important not to over idealize things, like not to overly rely, but I mean, just like don't over idolize anyone and their support and their love. Like, at the end of the day, life still has its own challenges, and that's kind of just what I'm saying. With Jupiter, we can get very optimistic, and that's a great thing, but sometimes it can be a little too optimistic about things. Not to say that to not like fully accept this 10 of cups and like enjoy the love, because it is there. But it's not going to solve all your problems in life. It's not going to be everything that you need and more. So, life still happens, and difficulties in relationships still happen, and that's okay. But ultimately very beneficial for relationships. And we also have, I just see it pulled, the Moon, the Queen of Wands, the Knight of Cups, and the Queen of Cups. A lot of emotions for you guys. A lot of emotions. First of all, with the Moon card and the Queen of Wands, I feel like you guys are getting much more confident because of the fact that you are expressing some deeper seated emotions. Just really challenging emotions that you might be going through, especially with Mars in your 4th house squaring Pluto in the 1st. It's almost like you're having to overcome these childhood deep-seated emotions, or like things that are from childhood, essentially childhood wounds, all these like really deeply buried feelings, things that have gone on for generations. Like, all of those things are coming up right now. And with the square to Pluto in the 1st, you're having to regain your power over yourself and over these situations, and express some of these things that have been maybe unconscious or subconscious, that have been pushed down, that have been riding underneath the surface, going across generations, a lot related to family. And because of that, because you're bringing a lot of that stuff from the past up to the surface, and you're willing to face it, you're willing to see it for what it is. With Pluto in the 1st, you are fearless in your facing of this. And maybe fearless isn't the right word in terms of like you don't feel fear, but in terms of you feel fear and you face it anyway. And that is bringing you confidence with this Queen of Wands, allowing those things to emerge from the darkness. You are realizing that you are whole, you are happy, you are powerful, because none of these things are just driving your life without your control. So very, very positive here. You also have the Knight of Cups and Queen of Cups. So this is a lot of like relationship stuff going on when I see this. A lot of self-reflection. You can see this person is looking into this cup and seeing himself and understanding how he's feeling. And this person is holding this cup close to their heart and allowing it to spill out into the world and affect others. So I feel like you guys are becoming really aware of what's going on internally, and that's leading to a lot of like an open-heartedness and a lot of growth and expansion in your relationships, because when you're very in tune with what's going on with you, you can then be really in tune with others and with others' needs and with your own needs, and get those needs met in the relationship, and really communicate and understand one another. And it's not just like, you're attuning to them and you're not meeting your own needs, or attuning to yourself and not meeting their needs. It's like you're really, both of them are online, both of them are working together. And that's really what I feel like is happening right now. Is there's a lot of emotional awareness contributing to very strong relationships. And then you guys also have Mercury and Venus in Gemini in your 6th house. So this can also contribute very much so to your work relationships, to your general mental and physical health. All those things can start to improve because of this emotional awareness, especially because Venus is making an exact sextile to Jupiter in the 4th. It's like you're working through these things, you're expressing these emotions, and everything around you is benefiting from that. Your responsibilities, the level of stress you have every day, how positive or negative you think, how you treat your body, all those things are improving because you're releasing a lot of these things out into the open that have been in the shadows lurking, and holding you down in some way and keeping you less satisfied or less confident. Mercury in Gemini in the 6th house, making a trine to Saturn in the 2nd house, is also helping you plan long-term financially, because I think you're growing a lot in confidence with this Queen of Wands. You're able to also start taking this confidence and be like, okay, now what do I deserve? Now what do I want to create for myself? Because I have now cultivated this emotional awareness, asked for my needs to be met, and now you can get really clear on what you want and how you can create that very practically in your life. And so I think it's going to open up a lot of doors about this next process, this next step for you to be like, okay, well, I released this issue, I expressed this need. Now, how can I manifest this perfect person or this perfect job or create more money or just more like value within myself? And I think a lot of those things are going to take you by surprise in a really good way. All right. Let me pull a card. Seek seclusion. So this card definitely reminds me of somebody who is ultimately going to get some of the most benefits out of this transit by having the time to process things alone. And that's why I think it's making this new moon is making an exact square to Jupiter in the 4th, is because you are meant to be home with yourself, really check in with yourself, dive in, know exactly what's going on, and then you know your needs and can express them and have these good relationships. But you can only do that when you take that time for yourself. I also pulled the Bat card, which to me is an indicator that I think the bat can essentially signify having to move through some maybe darker aspects of the self. Like I mentioned, all this stuff from childhood, from the past, these worries and concerns and suppressed parts of ourselves, like the challenge emotions, the shadowy emotions that are available to you. But ultimately, I feel like you can see the moon is on here. It's like you're very intuitively moving through them. You're very aware of yourself. You're processing them, and you can see through the darkness. You can see how all of this processing is going to benefit you in the long term, especially in your relationships, because this is a new moon in the 7th house. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Capricorn Rising. I hope it resonates. If it does, please like and comment and let me know how it resonates down below. If you want an astrology reading from me, or if you want to learn astrology from me, you can join my course. Sorry, I'm just like, I'm tired. Or you can access all of that in the description box down below, and I hope you guys have a great day. Bye. All right, up next we have my beautiful Aquarius risings. So for you, this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 6th house, and it's making an exact square to Jupiter, which is in your 3rd house of communications. So this is generally a time in which we are all experiencing some kind of emotional rejuvenation. For you, this could be in terms of your responsibilities, feeling like work is going really well, or like the work that you're doing is more emotionally satisfying, or like you are more in touch or more in tune with your responsibilities. I feel like the harshness, like the really hard work, I did pull the 10 of Wands, but I feel like the harshness or the hard work is like somehow going to be paying off, like emotionally gratifying in a way. And with the Page of Swords, it's like there's a lot of lightness of the mind. It's not like this really heavy thing. You have Jupiter in the 3rd. There's an optimism, a sense of hope, excitement, ideas about the future. Even though you may be putting in a lot of work, it's like that might still be there. It's all looking forward to what is to come. It's all going to pay off in the sense of like expansion and growth. And yes, I'm doing this because of this. This is going to lead me to this. It's not this dragging on. Every day is the same, having to work and just put in the grind for no reason. It's like there's a lot of lightness here. There's a lot of emotional renewal here and emotional connection to what you're doing as well, that makes it a lot more compatible with yourself and a lot easier to do. Don't be overly optimistic though and think like, oh, I can just have and do whatever I want because this one thing, because sometimes squares to Jupiter get us like a little bit overzealous, thinking that this is our one answer to everything, and that's really just not how it is. So just kind of keep that in mind in general. You guys also have Venus in the 5th house making an exact sextile to Jupiter in the 3rd. So I think in terms of relationships, you guys are on fire right now with the Queen of Cups and the 10 of Cups. A lot of emotional fulfillment, a lot of like great socializing, having a lot of community, feeling supported, having great conversations, really connecting with loved ones in a way that you feel like you're truly seeing one another. And I think just enjoying one another, like having amazing conversations with people, feeling like that person cares about what you have to say, feeling like your days are interesting, like you have, just emotional connections with those that you love and can enjoy and get pleasure out of that company. You also have Mercury in the 5th house in Gemini, which is super strong in Gemini, making a trine to Saturn in your first. So I think that some of the things that you've been interested in, some of the hobbies, you might have more of like a plan for how you want to go about achieving some of your creative goals or some of your creative hobbies. Like maybe if you've been wanting to do this one thing for a long time, you're like, okay, I'm actually going to start doing that now. Like let's say you want to be a musician. Or like you want to at least do that on the side. You start making the songs. You actually start taking the steps and the plans in order to do those things. Let's say you've always wanted to play volleyball or be an actress. Like you sign up for a course, you join a club, like you taking practical steps that will actually lead you to having more joy, more fun in your life, but like in a disciplined way, in a structured way, in like a real way. That's what I see with this Page of Wands. Feeling the inspiration and acting on the inspiration, following through on the inspiration to create something out of it, to make something like functional in your life. You also are experiencing Mars in the 3rd house squaring Pluto in the 12th. This can indicate sometimes like challenging conversations. As I mentioned, like there's a lot in terms of like good conversations and connections, but there may also be challenging ones as well. So ultimately, how I see this is maybe having to have hard conversations or facing some things intellectually that are challenging for you in order to come out on top, to have the connection and the good conversations, like facing adversity to feel closer in the end. Or let's see. We've got 3 of Pentacles, Queen of Wands, the Lovers, 4 of Cups, 4 of Pentacles. Let me look at all this and how this relates. Yeah, so I feel like you guys are really going to start to understand more of yourself. Maybe with the 3 of Pentacles and the 4 of Cups, there can be some situation in which you are connecting or working with others with the 4 of Cups in a way that's like not exactly ideal. And I think it's like through that misunderstanding or misalignment or lack of fulfillment or something that's going on in your connection with others that is going to help you understand what is the missing piece, what creates that stability. And a lot of this, I think, is actually coming from within because Pluto is in the 12th. It's like, okay, I don't really feel great about this conversation or this connection or this thing. And it's because I have this one part of myself that hasn't been fully explored in this relationship, or it's because I haven't spoken about this current unmet need. There's like something within the self that needs to be externalized in order for that connection and everything to come together. So ultimately I see great conversations, great connection, everything, but it's like you have to first understand yourself and present those things in the relationship to have good conversations about it and overcome what has been maybe not necessarily like going in your favor or hasn't necessarily been like helping you in some way. It's like, let's confront it and let's create more stability. Let's create a closer connection, greater awareness and a greater relationship with the self and more confidence within myself, more confidence in the relationship. And yeah, any kind of relationships, literally anything at all. So let me just recap that. Let me pull some other cards first and then let me recap that because I felt like that was kind of all over the place. All right, I have the Compassion card. And then let me pull an Animal card. The Shark. Yes, this is what I'm saying with the Shark card. It's like you are willing to look into your depths and come up to the surface and like attack the problem. And that's what I feel like you're doing with Mars squaring Pluto in the 12th. Mars in the 3rd squaring Pluto in the 12th. You're willing to have the difficult conversations, to face certain parts of yourself and see how those elements maybe are underrepresented or not like fully catered to within a relationship dynamic or friendship dynamic or work dynamic. Yes. And then the Compassion card, I think, is having compassion for yourself and others in this process. Let me also read to see if it says anything else. During a healing challenge, it might seem counterintuitive to have compassion for someone who hurt you in the past. Oh, so this could be about somebody in your past. That's very interesting. However, forgiveness is a vital step in your healing process. Decide to let go of resentment. Feelings of hurt, suffering, being the victim, or wanting revenge are low vibration and prevent you from making progress. Forgiveness carries a high vibration and will bring you healing. You don't need to communicate an apology. Forgiveness is something you do for within and for yourself. Okay, so I feel like there's maybe somebody, okay, that makes a lot of sense with Pluto being the 12th house. There's something within yourself. I was saying that's like some unmet need or whatever it is. I think this is actually coming from a past relationship dynamic or something from the past that has hurt you that could be presenting itself in the present relationship or in some other present dynamic. And it's like you have to forgive and let go and release that because you have actually a lot of really, really good positive energy in terms of your current connections. And so whatever that was in the past that hurt you, you have to face it, confront it, forgive it, release it so that you can actually fully embrace and fully enjoy the goodness that's coming in your present relationships. So that makes a lot of sense with the Shark card and with everything else that I'm seeing here. And I think ultimately that's going to feel really fulfilling for you to be able to face some of those things and release whatever is lingering there. So that is what I'm seeing for you, Aquarius Rising. If that resonates, please let me know by liking, commenting down below. And if you want an astrology reading from me or you want to learn astrology, you can find links for that in the description box down below. Have a great day. Bye. And last but certainly not least, we have my beautiful Pisces rising. So this new moon in Cancer is happening in your 5th house of fun and creative self-expression, friendships, groups, going out, having a good time. And as I was saying that, I pulled the 3 of Cups, definitely a card of enjoyment. You can see these people are having, these mermaids are having drinks. They're out here at a club, at a bar, at a restaurant, just having a good time. And so I feel like there's a lot of really social, good, alive energy happening right now. And whenever we have a Cancer new moon, it's about being really emotionally connected. So I think you are being emotionally connected to friends, to family, to community, someone, some level of support through relationships in your life. This new moon is also making an exact square to Jupiter in your 2nd house. So you might feel also really optimistic and hopeful about money and financial opportunities, and your confidence and your sense of self like is feeling really on fire. Do not be overly optimistic. This is a time in which I would say to be a little bit more careful in terms of spending, because you can be excited about things and opportunities, all these great things happening, feeling really social, that you can get a little spendy. You can go out to eat a little bit too much, drink a little bit too much, overindulge, especially financially. Just, you want to have a good time, but in moderation. And so you might be feeling really good, but kind of push the limits a little bit that way. The other element of this that I see is a little bit of a challenge with Mars in the 2nd squaring Pluto in the 11th house. So financially, like Mars in the 2nd squaring Pluto in the 11th is like, there might be some like financial obstacles that you have to overcome. So that is a potential, especially for like long-term growth. Like, oh, I really want this, but I don't really have the finances right now. How can I make that work? I really have to overcome some old habits or strive to do something differently so that I'm able to actually save up or have the money for this long-term thing. Because if I keep at my current rate, I won't have it. Or like, let's say your friend group is like traveling a lot and they're trying to do these things out in the world, having fun. It's like, okay, well, I want to save money. I'm really motivated by financial success, but then I also really want to join my friends. And you have to overcome this inner tension, inner dialogue between these two elements of desire in your life. So there are ways in which you might feel like you have a lot of options with this 8 of Wands. You have to really like focus on what you truly want long term. And so this Mars square Pluto can be overcoming that instinctual drive to just do what you want in the moment. Although that's a really big highlight of this new moon for you, is about having fun in the moment, just enjoying the here and now and having a good time. But then also adding in some layer of judiciousness and overcoming like any kind of desire you have to maybe, I don't know, like get a little bit like not like doing, just following your passions and desires without thinking about the consequences on your bank account or how this current following your passion will take away from your long-term passions. That's just something to think about. With the Queen of Swords, it's like, let's use judiciousness. Let's use both of our intuition, the feminine, the queen, with our intelligence or intellect or our knowledge and our rationality, and be objective here. So really balancing both. How can I both feel into things and also know objectively, factually, what is the best thing in the situation, combining the two. So that is currently what I feel like you are working on and resolving. You guys also have Venus and Mercury in the fourth house in Gemini, which is really great for family, for home relationships, feeling really at peace within yourself. Venus is making an exact sextile to Jupiter second. So I think that you're becoming really confident within yourself, feeling like you own things, you got things, you can do it, you can create it. Like there's just a sense of calm around the home, around those family relationships, and within your inner dialogue that's just at peace. And yeah, I think it's ultimately going to be extremely fulfilling. And as I said that, I pulled the Ace of Cups. So just like your cup runneth over, you have just a lot of emotional support within yourself, and it's running outwardly into your home environment, extending to your close family members, your roommates, your friends. It's just like I feel like you're really in a good spot, and that's allowing you to give a lot to others. Mercury is in Gemini in your fourth house, so you're really able to communicate your feelings very directly. It's making it's making a trine to Saturn in the 12th. So anything that has been kind of subdued or part of your past, or is more maybe spiritual, it's like all these elements of yourself that are usually not right there at the forefront in your conscious mind, but are kind of either running in the background or a little bit repressed, or like, yeah, just part of the past, as I mentioned. Those things might be coming up to surface now to be expressed a little bit more. So if you have more of a spiritual side that you've not shared as much with a relationship or with a family member, like some of that can come up. Or if you have something from the past you want to discuss, you can share that, and it all done in a really constructive and fruitful way, in a way that's going to strengthen the bond with the individuals around you, create a really like foundational aspect of the relationship. And again, with your cup running over, you have a lot of emotions that you can then really give to others. It's like you're coming from a really positive place, which is ultimately benefiting you. So this one seemed really clear to me, seems really beneficial overall to have this new moon in the fifth house. Let's see. I'm going to pull two more cards for you. Let's see what else Spirit wants to tell us about this. I got the Beaver. So there is also kind of like a reminder for you to keep working hard. There is like a lot of joy, pleasure, following your fun. That's a core message today. But I think that Spirit wants to remind you that keep your eye on the prize. Like you also don't want to neglect some of your responsibilities, some of your duties, some of your long-term goals, and become a little bit, spendthrifty or whatever. So keep working hard, keep staying consistent. And with the Eight of Wands, I think you'll see a lot of quick progress in your life as well. I also pulled the vibration card. To me, this is saying that you are going to be in such a good vibration that you're going to attract a lot of positive experiences right now, a lot of opportunities for growth. And so that's why the Beaver card is showing up as well, is you are in such a good energy space, such a good emotional space and social space, that you are going to have that really high vibration and resonance to attract these beautiful experiences, but then you need to follow it up with the work, with the effort, with the follow through. And so the Beaver card pairs very nicely with this. And I think ultimately you're going to notice that the joy and pleasure and fun is what attracts more of that into your life. So you want both. You want to have more joy, but you also want to work hard and can stay consistent. So do the jobs and the things that bring you a lot of joy, because then the working hard part will be easy. You won't feel like hard work at all. So that's what I'm seeing for you, Pisces. If it resonates, please like and comment down below. If you want an astrology reading from me, if you want to learn astrology from me, you'll find both of those links in the description box down below. And I hope you have a great day. Bye.